Hello, basketball fans. It's me, DC, for Fantasy Basketball Analyzer. We're going to get ready for week 19 of the NBA season. Hopefully, you're all still live in your fantasy leagues, or at least one of your many fantasy leagues. Whether you won in the playoffs, or you were just relaxing on your bye week, or that was weird. Or maybe your playoffs are just starting. But either way, we're going to get ready for week 19 by breaking down the NBA schedule. And we start that by looking at our opponents. So let's check out the pace and defensive efficiency. I keep saying this, but I don't think there's going to be any shocks. At the top, the teams we want to attack: Sacramento, Minnesota, Washington, Portland, Houston are the big dogs that we want to go after. New Orleans, OKC are still there above that 108 mark that we're looking for, right? When we marry pace and defensive efficiency together, that 108 is like the cream of the crop. Softer matchups we want to get after because they're going fast and they're not playing that great of defense. Down to the bottom, same teams we expect. New York, LA. Sorry, it's both LA teams, but I meant Lakers. Utah, Phoenix, Miami, and then Philly and Clippers are kind of like on the edge there. The only thing I thought was interesting, if we take a moment just to talk basketball, was Chicago's been a team to attack like all the time, and they've dropped down. Like if you're looking at this graphic, like Chicago's down here towards the middle of the pack, and I was like, wow, what improved? Like from what I've seen in the game, it's not like they've become defensive powerhouses. What's going on? So I went back and looked at, say, week 17. So I went back 2 weeks to take a look at what's changed. 2 weeks ago, their total was 107.85. They're at 107.65. That's not a massive change, right? So what's really happened is that some of the other teams just like hopped up above them. I mean, Brooklyn's been in that. They were at 107.75 before. They're now at 107.9. So they're all kind of in that range. Milwaukee was already 107.7. So while they look lower, they're still all of these teams kind of clustered there, which is also why we don't highlight everyone green. We just go after these top ones when we apply it to the schedule. So let's do that now. So we bring up the schedule grid. 3 things should jump out at you. The 3 teams that play 5 games. We already talked about it last week. Tried to get you ready for it. Dallas, OKC, and Toronto are the big matchups that you really want to take advantage of because they've got 5 games. Now, if you're streaming, they might not actually be the most clutch to go for, and we'll talk about that when we get towards the end of the show here. But for weekly lock leagues, you want the 5 games. You want the extra minutes. It's the most important stat you're going to get because it means the opportunity to get other stats. So there's 3 teams playing 5 games, and there's 5 teams playing only 3 games, which makes them close to not usable. It's not impossible. It's not like the 2-game week, but you're going to want to be careful because with 22 teams playing 4, right, you combine that together, we've got most teams, 25 teams, are playing 4 or more games. It's going to be really hard to play a couple players with 3 games in your weekly lock leagues. Here in the playoffs, that's going to be rough. So you probably got to stay away for the most part from Detroit, Golden State, Indiana, Clippers, New York. You know, like you got Curry. I think you're rolling out Curry. Like you don't want to get too cute with it. You sit Curry while he's this hot. He can still put up enough threes and stuff like that. But that's what you got to figure out when you start looking at ancillary characters, or maybe even as great as Kawhi and PG have been. These guys have been missing time. Can you roll that dice with 3 games and it turns into only 2 or 1? You might not be able to, but you got to choose your own risk. When it's down to these games that really matter, if you bench the guy and then he goes off and you don't have him and you lose, or you play the guy and you take zeros and you lose, how are you going to sleep at night? Like, this is supposed to be fun. Some of you guys got some money on the line, but think about like what's going to make you feel better. You got to do your own risk assessment for that. I can't really say what's going to keep you guys up at night. But let's go ahead and look at back-to-backs where we can try and avoid where we think some guys are going to rest, where we think we know some guys are going to rest, I should say. So let's run through the teams that always rest guys, certain guys at least for back-to-back. It's not an all-inclusive list, but it's the ones we've been going through. Boston with Kemba, yep, they've got a back-to-back, so he's probably going to miss a game there. Detroit's still resting Killian Hayes, but they don't have a back-to-back this week. They only play 3 games, so that's going to be part of it. Now, they do play 5 games next week. So it's not, you know, don't give up on Isaiah Stewart or Killian Hayes or something like that. You might want that 5-game opportunity for next week, but just know it's going to be pretty rough to use Detroit. And you still, if it's the playoffs, you need to win this week. So if that turns into a streaming spot, you might have to make some moves there. Anyway, back to it. Houston with John Wall. Yep, they've got a back-to-back, so he's going to be missing some times there. The Clippers, no. Lakers, they kind of have a back-to-back. Now, I've been skimming past the Lakers, But AD came back. So if you're alive and your team has AD, congrats, but they're going to ease him back in. I don't know what they're going to do on a back-to-back yet, but that Toronto game at the end of the week is the first leg of a back-to-back, so just be cautious there if you're locking him into the lineup. OKC, yes, they have a back-to-back because they've got 5 games. They actually have 2 back-to-backs. I bring that up because Lou Dort, he missed 2 games this week. So while he was a hot pickup, if you locked him in for the whole week, that is going to hurt. And if they're going like this, 2 back-to-backs, I don't know if you can really trust in a weekly lock league. Washington, yep, they have 2 back-to-backs as well. San Antonio coming in is the second leg of a back-to-back, and then Cleveland, Dallas. Now, it looks like Beal's probably playing now in back-to-backs, and Westbrook's been playing, but they're still on my list because sometimes Washington's doing some things with that. Just want to make you aware. Now, I'm going to add to this list. I skipped past them, but I added Memphis to the list because Triple J's finally back, but Memphis has 2 back-to-backs, right? Denver's the second leg of it, and then they play Orlando and a home and an away, a home and a home, I guess you'd say. I don't know what they're going to do with Triple J yet because he just came back 2 games ago. They jumped up his minutes pretty well, which is great, and it's great to see him back on the court. But I don't want you to lock him in if it turns out they're going to be resting on back-to-backs. Hopefully on Sunday, they give some kind of sort of hint what they're going to do, talk about it being the first leg of a back-to-back. But I would track that Sunday evening, Monday before rosters lock, so you don't get put in a bad spot. Let's go ahead and switch over to weekly leagues and talk about some streaming. If you look at the bottom of the grid, the big days we want to attack are Tuesday and Thursday because they each only have 6 games. Let's just run through it. Monday starts with 11, then we go 6, 10, 6, 8, 10, 8. So the 2 days with only 6 games, that's where you can definitely get people in there to stream. And then Friday and Sunday, you might be able to. With 8 games, it's just about half the league. But the bigger point is that on Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, you're probably not going to get to stream any of those because they all have 20 plus teams playing. The best guys on your roster are already going to be in the lineup. Beyond the obvious, right? Beyond wanting to pick up guys from Dallas, OKC, and Toronto because they've got 5 games. Let's take a look at a couple other options. Maybe we can be a little sneaky. Everyone's going to notice that there are 5 games. I've been talking about for weeks, but we're talking about streaming here. Let's take a look at Brooklyn. They've got 4 games, and they play 2 games on the Tuesday, Thursday, the all-important days where you're really going to get someone in there. And then they also play on Friday, Sunday when there's only 8. So there's a good chance you could pick someone up from Brooklyn and because of the value of those games, get them in for all 4 days. I actually can't say that about some other teams. Like look at OKC. They play on Monday when it's going to be hard to play someone and Saturday. So if you're streaming someone from OKC, you might only work them in 3 days, which would actually make Brooklyn more valuable. It's kind of weird. So the Bucks have the same thing. If you go look at Milwaukee's schedule, they've got 4 games and they play on all the lowest volume days. So if you can pick up someone and work them in there, even if they're not huge, and in your daily change league, there's a decent chance that Brooklyn and Milwaukee are going to give you more bang for your pickup buck by working them all in, no pun intended on the Bucks. That's my quick hit overview for all of this. Be ready for Detroit next week with 5 games. So if you want to make any pickups ahead of time, keep that in mind. We'll be back tomorrow to do the waiver show to really break down some options. There's a lot of injuries this week. It's really rough. Like, it was great to get AD back and Triple J, but, you know, we lost Trey for an undefined amount of time and Harden, and you might have to cut these guys. So if you've got questions about that, please leave a comment below. Like it if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow with waivers. Go out and win your week! Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, please hit the like button and leave a comment down below. It helps me grow the channel. If you want more videos like this, hit subscribe or even the little bell will give you alerts. And I'll be back soon with another video for you.